Hi everyone, and welcome to this short video on SQL Server 2008 and 2008 R2. Both of these versions of SQL Server will go out of extended support with Microsoft in July 2019. Now that's fast approaching, and as we enter the new year, maybe you were thinking of upgrading your legacy SQL servers to the latest and greatest versions. My name is Gethin Ellis, and I'll be talking to you in this short video about the options available to you if you still have legacy SQL Server 2008 and 2008 R2 instances running in production. Now, in the consultancy practice here at gethinellis.com, we've got both large and small clients. Now, it's usually always the way the small clients with less of a SQL Server infrastructure footprint find it easier to keep up and within two versions of the latest version of SQL Server. It's often the larger clients with a larger estate that struggle to keep their entire estate within a supported version, and these are usually the ones facing the end of support cliff edge. Now, we've seen SQL Server estates at many companies and businesses, and if we were estimating, I would suggest that between 20 and 30% of our clients' estates are currently running on SQL Server 2008 R2 and below. Now, sometimes the application the databases support require an older version of SQL Server, and it might be that the application are also coming to their end of life, but the end dates don't quite match up. So you've got a period of time where your data platform is out of support completely, but your application is also coming to the end of life, and there'll be another project in place to refresh that. Now, sometimes these applications are so critical to the business don't want to disrupt the application functioning by performing a migration, or they don't want the disruption that potentially a migration can cause and migrate into a new version. So they tend to resist any projects that will disrupt their data platform, so that the versions don't get migrated. And again, if you're in that situation, you could be facing the end of support cliff edge too. Now, extended support ends in July 2019. At the time of making this video and writing this post, that's about 7 months away. There's still plenty of time to plan, execute the plan, and manage the transition for your old data platform. Now, if you do find yourself in a situation where you've got SQL Server 2008 R2 or below still running, you've got 4 options available to you. You can run on the out of support data platform. You can modernise and migrate to the latest and greatest SQL Server platform, or somewhere in between. You can pay for a custom support contract with Microsoft so you continue to get security updates, or you can migrate the workload and the VM to Azure and you will continue to get the security updates for free. And there's pros and cons of each. If you decide to run on out of support software and take the risk associated with doing that, the main advantage from your perspective is there is nothing further for you to do. There's no work to do. There are some disadvantages to this though. The longer you run on the platform, there's the greater the chance, or the more the chance increases, that you're going to encounter a security vulnerability or fail a compliance test. Also, if anything did go wrong with your installation of SQL Server, you'll have no support from Microsoft. So when would you take this approach? Well, if the application and the workload running on the old data platform are also coming to end of life, but the dates don't quite match up, this might be an option you're prepared to take. You might be happy to be running out of support for a month or two, maybe even 6 months. Maybe 6 months is pushing it. Any longer than that, and I personally would be looking at some of the other options available to me. Now, Modernise and Upgrade is one of the options that you have. You can upgrade your on-premises SQL Server estate to use, say, SQL Server 2017, which at the time is the latest version of SQL Server that's been released to market. SQL Server 2019 will be released next year. Or if you wanted to, you could look to migrate to Azure, either as an IaaS solution where you run the VM in Azure, or even as the platform as a service, the PaaS solution running on Azure SQL database. Now, there are a number of advantages to this approach. You'll be running your database workloads on a supported data platform with a potentially long support window. There will likely be new features in the latest and greatest versions of SQL Server that you can use. So for example, SQL Server 2012 saw the introduction of availability groups. And you're likely to find people with skills in the latest technology. So those skills are likely to be more readily available in the job market if you need to hire someone to help you out with your SQL servers. Now, the disadvantage of modernising and upgrading, there's likely to be a different licensing model. The licensing model changed between SQL Server 2008 R2 and SQL Server 2012, and it's possible you will have to pay more for your SQL Server licenses. If you've got a workload and an application that is near the end of life, and the planning and work involved in an upgrade just might not be worth it if you're going to have to do the same again when the application comes to the end of its life. So when would I use this? I'd go for this approach if the applications and workloads sat on the data platform are still in use and likely to be in use beyond the very short term. This is the option that is probably the most popular among my clients. Now, the third option is similar to the first, but instead of doing nothing, you pay for a custom support agreement. So you still run on the old legacy data platform, but you pay Microsoft for a support agreement so you continue to get security updates. So the big advantage here, you continue to get security updates, therefore potentially remaining compliant. The big disadvantage is the cost of this approach. Now, I understand the cost to be 75% of the full license cost of the latest version of SQL Server and Windows Server, so it's not a cheap option. When would I use this? Well, in all my time working with SQL Server and going through and upgrading and migrating SQL Server to the latest and greatest versions, I've never executed this option. I think I would need to be in a situation where an upgrade was not possible for whatever reason, and I had a strict need to remain compliant, or the gap between the out of support of SQL Server going out of support and the application retiring was too long for my risk threshold, but not long enough to warrant me going through the modernise and upgrade approach. The fourth option here is a new option Microsoft have introduced reasonably recently. They've decided to allow SQL Server 2008 and SQL Server 2008 R2 VMs running in Azure to have the security updates for free. So instead of paying for a custom support agreement, you lift and shift your virtual machines to Azure, you run them in Azure, and you will get the security updates for free. Now, the main advantage is you get to keep on the same version of the operating system and the data platform. You get the security updates for free, so the cost is minimal. And once you're in Azure, it's only a small jump to, say, a platform as a service offering or a managed instance offering if you want to use one of the different presentations of the data platform in Azure. The biggest disadvantage, as far as I can see, is you would need to move off premises, and for some organisations this is not an option. Okay, and if you can't move to a cloud-based solution, then this option is not on the table for you. And there is work involved in lifting and shifting to the cloud too, so there will be some disruption while you migrate your VM from your on-premises data centre up to the Azure cloud. Now, whatever you do when SQL Server 2008 and 2008 R2 goes out of extended support, it's important you have a plan. We can help. We can provide you with an initial assessment of your SQL Server estate, give you an idea of what will be involved in migrating your legacy data platform. Whether that be upgrading on premises or upgrading to Azure. And then we can leave that plan with you, or if you wish, we can help you carry out that plan as well, execute the plan, help you with your migration, and then optimize the new solution after as well. If you'd like to speak to us about your SQL Server 2008 or 2008 R2 estate, then please do get in touch.